Hey, hey, it is that time again. It is Tuesday, September 5th, 3 p.m. my time. I hope you are having a great day wherever you are and whatever time it is for you. It is that time, though, no matter what the clock says, it's that time to talk mules and donkeys. My name is Dave. This is Steve Edwards, and every week we get together to talk about mules and donkeys for really one thing. We want you to be able to gain the trust of your animal and get results when you go out there and train. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable. It should be something that doesn't cause you grief or stress. And if it does, then you should have some solutions that can hopefully bring that grief and stress to rest. And that's why we are here. Steve, how have you been?
Well, right now I'm up in a place called Montana. Yep, it's kind of a second home for me for a lot of years. But my buddy Ron Den, who you have interviewed in the past, he's got this nice place up here. He moved from Minnesota cold up to Montana and got this outfit here. And I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. We went out elk hunting yesterday, archery elk, and found that we have a problem here. And we get to calling, talking to other people, and they got problems. It's called wolves eating the elk and deer population up. We just found, and it's horrible, and you all close your ears if you don't want to hear this, but we just found a whole bunch of bones where the wolves had went in and just destroyed a whole deer herd. It was horrible to see. Anyway, we're here, we're hunting, and we're going to see what happens.
Folks, we interviewed Ron Den 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that program is available to watch on our YouTube channel. You can find it on Facebook as well if you go looking, but I put a link in the comments section to our YouTube channel where you can go and watch that episode with Ron. It was a lot of fun. Steve, while you're up there, get a bunch of pictures of Ron's ranch. That way next time we have a clinic up there, we've got some new pictures to show. It is gorgeous, and we really want to make sure folks have a good idea of just how much they're going to be missing if they don't sign up for whenever we do a clinic there next. So like I said, every week we get together to talk mules and donkeys. Here are the rules. There are no rules. No, I'm just kidding. There's really 3 things we ask. First thing is that you share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like. If you are tuning in live, you see some folks already putting in their name, where they're watching from, and what the weather's like. And we sure would be grateful to hear from you as well. It just gives us an idea of who's out there, who we're talking to, and say hello to you. We believe that you matter, that you have value, that you are important, that you were created with purpose, and the idea that we would know your name and be able to say howdy to you, that's just something we would love to do. The second thing is that you ask any and every mule or donkey question that you've got. Now, we've got probably 5,000 or 6,000 questions that we have answered over the course of the last 5 years. Just doing this program virtually every week, we've hit thousands of questions, and we're working hard to archive those questions into a huge Ask Steve, almost like a Mule University library, and that is forthcoming. We would love to know what questions you would like to ask, and we will add those questions to the library as well, in addition to getting you an answer as best we can here today. There is no question we've answered too many times. There's no question that's too dumb to ask. There's no question that's too newbie, and there's no question that's too advanced. We really just want to help you, and if we've got the answer, we'll give you the answer, and if we don't have the answer, we'll say, hey, that is new to me. If you find something out, let us know. So any and every mule or donkey question that you ask, go ahead and put it in the comment section. Third thing that we ask is that you share the broadcast. We want to bring families together, and Thanksgiving's going to be here before you know it. And if your friends or family find out you've been watching a mule and donkey program and you haven't invited them, it is not going to be good. So go ahead and invite them now. Get ahead of that curve. Make sure that they know the best mule and donkey live streaming program in the world happens every single week, and that they can join us for free. And that's that word again there. Free. That's our favorite F word. MuleRanch.com has tons of free information, as well as our YouTube channel. Steve, how about we say hello to a few of the folks who are hanging out with us already?
Get her done.
We've got Cowboy Ken tuning in, as he always does, from a sunny Connecticut where it is 88 degrees.
Whoa.
That's right. We've got Dave O'Brien from East Texas, 100 degrees and humid. Glad to see y'all. I guess I can say I'm glad to be seen. Being seen is so much better than the alternative.
I got to
Glad to
send
be
you a
seen.
picture Dave O'Brien just sent me.
So what's that? He just sent you a picture?
Yeah, he just sent me a picture, and I'm going to send it to you, and you can see the progress Dave's been doing here.
He's been sending in his progress over the course of the last several months, sending in pictures here or there. That's great.
Yeah.
Barbara is watching. Hi, Steve and Dave. 88 degrees, partly cloudy in Sullivan, Missouri. Headed home from work and going to spend time with my Molly. That's awesome. Well, if you got any questions, Barbara, now's the time to ask. If not, we hope that you just enjoy that time. Brad is cooling off in Cedar Fort, Utah. Sherman Johnson, Norman, Oklahoma, 103 degrees. Steve is hopefully going to catch something for you there, Sherman. That would be awesome. Craig is watching from El Reno, Oklahoma, 103 with some thunderstorms circling up. Julie is watching from hot and humid, just somewhere in the world that's hot and humid, so take your pick. David Scholl, good morning. Good Aussie morning, Dave and Di in Dallernil, Queensland, got a real pretty foal born last week. That's right, Steve. Last week, and in fact, we've gone international now. Last week, David said that his new foal was supposed to be born that same night when the show aired, and so that's real cool. I was thinking it'd be neat to have Dave on another program and get the three of us to chat for a little bit.
Yeah, Dave just sent me a picture. It just came in. Oh man, look at that!
Forward it over to me.
On that.
Forward it over to me. I'll put it up here so everyone can see.
Look at the chrome on that. Woo! Oh my.
Steve's just toying with everyone now. He knows he can see it and we can't. He's just making us jealous. That's what he's trying to do.
Oh, Fiona.
Send that over. The people want to see. Give the people what they want.
I just said it. Hey, now this is the quality stuff we should be seeing, you know? Man, Dave, you outdone it. Woo!
That'd be great. Paulie from Barnesville, Minnesota, 67 and drizzling. So glad the 95-degree heat has left. Yeah, that's right. Steve Young is watching from Southwest Missouri, and Christian is watching, says hello again from Central Idaho. Mid-70s and sunny here. Question regarding pack saddle cinches. We purchased the Sawbuck pack saddle from Mountain Ridge Gear. That's Eric Lynn. That's our friend.
Yeah.
My question is in regards to the cinches. Do you prefer separate pack cinches or the kind that is attached in the center? We have a few issues with the saddle moving forward going downhill. We're currently using the typical pack cinch that is attached as one. I'm wondering if separate cinches to allow us to move them farther apart from each other would help. We adjust the britchin before going up and down hills, so it's tight and sitting low when going downhill. She is very round-shaped and just wondering if there's help out there or if it's just something we'll have to deal with. What do you say, Steve?
Well, you always have to deal with saddles going forward because mules are V-shaped in their shoulders. So that's a norm. So to compensate for it, there's two things that we need to do. One, on a riding saddle, we adjust the breeching, and on a pack saddle, we adjust the breeching, we lower it, and we tighten it up on the quarter sides, and we lower it. That helps, especially for long distance going down hills. And that helps it, both riding saddles and pack saddles. Now, on a riding saddle, I prefer to have the back cinch the tightest, simply because now we have a rider who can balance their riding as they're going down the trail. When we have a pack saddle, we don't have someone up there to help balance the saddle. And so therefore, that cinch is going to be just a little bit different in that if you go to my website, you will see the Arizona cinch. I love it. It's a great cinch. We've had it for about over 25 years. and it works very well. Now, so that would be the thought. Now, here's the second part to this. Send me a picture to my my cell phone at Steve at 602-999-6853. Send me 2 pictures. One of your mule with a pack saddle on it. 2, send me a picture of your mule without anything on it. So that way I can see the top line, and I can also see how you've got your mule rigged up pack saddle wise. Here's what we want to create when we have a pack saddle: a trapezoid. So it goes straight across the top, at an angle, straight on the sides, at an angle, straight on the bottom. And then what that does is it helps the britching with the saddle. It helps the britching with the rear cinch. So you've got a strap coming down to the ring on the pack saddle cinch, which is my Arizona cinch, and it's coming down on both sides. And then that breeching is holding the saddle not quite centered, but a little bit to the right of center. Remember, you've got to have that back cinch to always need to be the tightest, but on a pack mule, you want it to be just a little bit to the right of center. And that's where your pack saddle was set. And then also the saddle pad. What saddle pad are you using? That's really important, because if you're using a wool saddle pad, folks, don't use wool saddle pads for anything. For packs, especially for packing, that saddle will go forward kaboom quick. That's why I developed my cinches. My saddle pads the way I did. So send me a couple pictures. There's my phone number. And like we always say, Dave, we're ready to help. Here's my phone number. Call me. You'll talk to me personally.
That's right. All right. So here, y'all, check it out.
Woo! Look at that for chrome, huh?
That's awesome.
Man.
Absolutely.
That's in Australia. Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. In Australia.
Look at that. Woo!
I asked David Scholl, I said, what do people say when you show up at different equine events with the mule? He says, almost everyone goes, what is that?
Yeah.
They don't know what it is. They want to know.
Hey.
They say, what are those ears?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Dave is going to make a big dent in Australia. You know, they got a lot of folks there and Australians can be some good riders and stuff. And there's also Ian over there in Mount Isa area. He loves his mules, but Dave is going to make a dent. I mean, a major dent. You sell quality mules like that. Now, folks, these mules are sold while they're still in the oven. In other words, while they're still in mama. This ain't a baby you can just look at and say, okay, I'll give you $10,000 for it. No. These mules are already sold ahead of time, and Dave is breeding quality mules with a quality jack from the United States. And let me tell you, Dave is going to make a major dent. And he's got a good wife behind him too. Di, she's pretty awesome.
So in the program last week, I'll put a link so folks can go back and listen to the program with David Scholl. But in the program, you can hear David talking, and then you hear this. And I said, who is talking to you? Are you getting your answers from someone else? And Di was over there telling him everything that he was to say. We had a good time with it. They're a good team.
That's what it takes.
They're a good team. They've got a lot of experience in dairy farming. They've got a lot of experience in livestock, and so didn't plan on getting involved in mules and donkeys. Didn't plan on getting involved in breeding, but just fell in love with the mule, and it was just the rest is becoming modern day history there. So I'll put a link in the comment section. Y'all can go back. Watch the program. It sure is a lot of fun, and I know that it would be great to have David come on again. Here is a link to our call with David Scholl in Australia.
Yeah, that was a really good one, Dave. You guys did good there.
Yeah, it was fun. Okay, here. Let's see. Continuing on. Jeff is watching from upstate New York, 82 and humid. Bill is sharing to the Mules in Ohio and Indiana pages. 90 degrees, a few thunderstorms, and muggy. Third cutting of hay in most barns now. The Amos
Wow.
trainer is
Good.
really impressed with his come along rope. So there you go. Good reports. Jerry is watching from Indiana where it's hot and humid. Rain on the way to cool us down in a few days. Luke is watching. Hey, Steve and Dave. Luke here from Michigan. I have a mule that has been lifting his back legs and just holding them up in the air. He does this with both back legs. When he walks, he is definitely tender in the back legs. Any advice? I have a vet coming in a few days.
Yeah, well, I've known Luke for what now, Luke? Probably 15 years, ever since he was about a 10, 12-year-old kid. I met him, and Luke's he turned out to be quite a mule guy, a homeschooled, good kid. Anyway, long story short, Luke, I'm going to tell you what I think it is, and then you let me know when the veterinarian talks to you. But I believe your mule is stifled, and I don't know why I'm hearing so much about this now, because it is rare, but it does happen. I just talked to a friend of mine in Ireland, one of my clients, and he was telling me about the same thing, Luke. And sure enough, it's stifled. And folks, there's not a thing you can do for stifle. Okay, don't try to drive them, don't try to pack them, don't try to ride them, because here's the problem with that doing that way. The leg comes up and then kind of jerks, and then the other leg comes up, especially if it's double stifle like this one. It comes up and kind of jerks and then put it down, and then they'll, because they're so uncomfortable, they'll go right, right, back, left, trying to take the pressure off of their stifle. Uh, a lot of veterinarians will cut the stifle nerves, but still, folks, it ain't safe. That's your drive off them hind legs. And how does it happen? It happens when you have real slushy mud and they're running around playing, or they take off running, and they pull that muscle, that stifle tendon and muscle, or they're in ice and it's slick and it moves and it pulls that stifle. It's an ugly thing. Unfortunately, it can also be ugly because what happens is they end up and get to where they can't even do anything but lay on the ground and suffer. So I hope you all, once you've listened to the vet, hear what he has to say, take the good alternative for the mule and do the best for him. And that is, if he's stifled, much as you hate to, get him put down, because you don't want to see end result. It's pretty ugly.
Had a really cool message come in from Jenny. Just wanted to share this. She says, I just have to tell you how impressed I am with my Trail Light saddle and saddle pad. Just
Oh,
today, my mule spooked a couple of times and jumped to the side quickly. My saddle stayed put and I was able to stay on. Also, a while back, I had a near wreck while getting on my mule. He ended up bucking with me halfway on and hanging on the side. My saddle didn't even slip. It's like having my saddle velcroed to a mule. At 65 years old, I need a lightweight saddle that stays put, and this is it. Thank you. Jenny
wow.
from Meadow Grove, Nebraska. So I thought that would be
Wow.
fun to hear.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you hate to hear about the wrecks, but it's good that the wreck ended up being too bad of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So here you go. Here is the update. So why don't you tell us, just put in some grander context here, Steve.
What?
Here's the
Where'd you
update
go? Oh, there you are.
from Dave O'Brien.
Yeah. Now, this is Dave O'Brien. Y'all have heard of him in Texas. This is the colt that he's raising. And he asked me, he said, Steve, how does this look? Do I have to tighten the surcingle up a little bit more, or tighten up the string on the martingale? Can you rewind it back there, Dave?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And so you stop him about right there. Is that possible? Well, right there. There. Okay, you see that, folks? You see how this mule is balanced. top of his wither, top of his hip, top of his head, and his nose coming in. All right. Now, that is really important, folks. Now, notice as the mule walks, his head will come back up, but then it'll drop back down and come back on the vertical like this. Now, does he just have the halter on there, or is it the martingale?
It looks like just the halter.
Okay, good. That's where you should start. Okay. A lot of people worry about the halter having a big loop down at the bottom. Folks, these rope halters, you adjust them to fit your mule. And this is what's important. The 2 knots on the nose must be on the nose. And on the back, underneath the chin, must be against the chin and snug. And then the pole be right in behind the ears. It doesn't make any difference if you got a great big loop. See the bottom of that rope halter? How it's got a great big loop to it. There you are. Very good. Very good. So see, that's a well-adjusted halter. Yes, it's got a big loop, but look, the key thing is notice it's on the nose correctly. Notice it's behind the pole, and notice it's still touching the jaw. Okay, I mean not the jaw, right in behind the muzzle. Okay, that's perfect. Now, right now, notice in this picture, the mule is kind of sticking his head out. But what's going to happen now, as the mule walks, you'll see him drop his head, bring it back up, drop his head, put it back up. That's what they do. Okay, that's nothing unusual. That's exactly what you want to see. See, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 down. Good, down, down, down. See how that works? That's what you want. Now, what he's doing is when you train a mule, you always train from the nose, and you want them balanced and framed up as they're walking. You don't want their head up in the air. You want it looking like this, nose on the vertical. So where do you start? You start with a rope halter adjusted, and this is how you will get the mule to start softening the neck muscles, all 5 major neck muscles, and the throat latch. This is where you start, folks. Then from there into the mule rider's martingale. Now, and the rope halter combination of the both of them. And then you bring him out of the rope halter and just use the martingale only. Now, I'm going to tell you, folks, does this take time? Yes. Is it worth it to have a soft mule? Absolutely. I was just talking to a guy the other day. He says, "See, I'm using your martingale, but I can't get the mule to stop." And I said, "Did you do your groundwork?" He says, "Well, I want to ride him." And I said, "Did you do your groundwork?" Listen, folks, groundwork. This is groundwork. What David O'Brien's doing here is prepping this colt for the first day, second day, the 10,000th year, whatever it may be, for what it's going to be for the rest of his life. It's worth it. People think they want to get in the saddle, put the bit on, and go ride. Riding is not making the cake. That riding is the icing on the cake. And what David O'Brien's doing here from Texas, what he's doing is prepping his mule. And when this mule's a 10-year-old, people are going to be going, "Wow, look at that. Is that a mule doing that?" Yes. Yes, because David's doing groundwork. So when it comes down to this, folks, it's a 6-month time frame. 4 to 6 hours a week. That's all. 4 to 6 hours a week. Okay. And you're not going to pump all that 6 hours in one day. Try to break it up over a few days. And always remember the 3-6-9 rule. Okay. 3-6-9-12 rule. Always remember that. Okay. Now, as this little mule goes around, he goes around clockwise. Every time he comes by the gate, that's 1. If he looks like that, that's 1. If he's got his head in the air, it's nothing. But when his head is down, he's going around in a circle counterclockwise. Every time he goes by the gate, that's 1. Every time he comes by the gate and he looks like that, that's 2. Every time he comes by the gate and he looks like that, that's 3. We're done today. No more. Going counterclockwise. Now, going clockwise, 3. We're looking for 3. Now, it may take you 12 to get to the 3, but once there's 3 consecutive of looking like that, we're done today. The biggest problem that we have is we want to hurry up and get it done and get to that ride, which is not important, but we want to hurry up and get the mule going. No, you've got to go on the mule's time. The good thing about David here, and listen to this, folks, this is really important. Dave's taken a colt from the very beginning that nobody else has messed with. So all the good, bad, and the ugly is going to be what Dave is doing to this mule now. Is Dave going to make mistakes? Yes, absolutely. I didn't learn this 50 years of doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for making mistakes. I made mistakes. And folks, I buried a lot of mistakes. Listen to that. I want to tell you, I've had to shoot mules that I didn't want to do. I've had to, you got to remember, folks, I didn't just come out and say, okay, I'm going to use so-and-so's saddle, so-and-so's this. No. I listened to the mule. And I watched the mule. What can help him be his best? Because when you're riding a mule, there ain't a horse around that can come close to him. They're not, folks. Now, sure, they got the cutting horses and all that stuff. No. When it comes to real things out on the side of a mountain, watch a mule shine. So Dave O'Brien, congratulations, man. You're looking good. Looking good.
That's real cool. You know, it might be kind of fun. Dave, it might be kind of fun to get all of these videos that you've been recording, put them in a sequential order, and then have Steve do some commentary on each step and post that up on YouTube. That might be kind of fun. Folks might enjoy seeing that, just kind of the whole process. So maybe we could do that with David Scholl too. That'd be fun. Next question. This one comes from Dale. Dale says, I've got a very sick donkey. I was wondering if you have ever heard of pedal osteitis in them is what the vet claims. He don't want to walk, and when he does, it's like baby steps. He acts like a foundered horse. He still goes as pooping and peeing. He lays a lot from the pain from his hooves. Farrier did hoof testers, doesn't seem to bother him. When he is up, he lifts his hind legs and holds it for a few seconds and switches to the other one. He'll stand on all four, back ticked under a bit. Anything you know of with similar symptoms besides colic that I could investigate info on. Sometimes these old timers know a lot more than a vet.
Yeah, that's me, the old timer. That's right. No. Hey, now that donkey sounds a lot like Luke with his mule. Okay, and this is the donkey. He's lifting up his back legs, going right and left. They've used the hoof testers on him, which tells you that here's your hoof. Okay, and this right here is this one here right here is the outside wall. Then you have your lamina. Then you have your coffin bone. All right. So by using the pinchers on this area here, that tells you how, if we got a problem with the outside wall and the lamina, and then with the coffin bone, then rotating backwards. All right. So, but that since he's used the hoof testers and that come out okay, here's my next thing. It's the same thing as I just told Luke. You've got a really good opportunity here to have the same problem. Okay. Now, what did we just tell Luke to do? What did we tell him? Hey, Dave, do you remember what we told Luke to do?
I know you remember what you told Luke to do. I was messaging Luke. I was messaging these people back saying, "Hey, come listen to this." What'd you tell him?
Good for you. Okay, folks, there's not any way to fix this problem. Okay, and when the leg comes up and it shakes and goes back down, comes back up and shakes and comes back down. Okay, that's a tendon problem. That's from sliding in the mud and pulling tendons. And a lot of veterinarians go and clip the tendons, but they're still not rideable or drivable or usable. It's a horrible disease. And so have your vet take another look at this donkey, because if he's in the laying down stage, that means he's not doing good. That means he's in the last stage of not getting up at all, and that can be pretty ugly. So keep in touch. Let me know what's going on with that.
Awesome. Next question. This one comes from Joan. Says, can you keep horses and mules in the same paddock without fighting?
No, folks, mules are extremely subservient to horses. Don't put any of your livestock together. You cannot give me enough reasons, okay, for you as individuals to put your animals in individual stalls. My wife's mule, 28 years old when she passed away, we got her as a 2-year-old. She spent 26 years in a 20 by 20 stall, folks. And so did my other mules, and so did all the mules that I trained on. There's nothing wrong with putting them in a 20 by 20 stall. Today's animal don't need to be out there because we do not ride them and work them enough. We don't. Okay. Before we put them out on pastures because, it was between times we want them to feed up and get going. But then we put them to work. We put them to work maybe 4 to 6 hours a weekend going on a short little ride. And we got these huge fat mules and donkeys. We shouldn't do that, okay? So don't put them together. You want each individual animal to be fed according to its needs, okay? Now, when a horse and a mule, you put 5 gallons of grain in front of each one of them, that horse will stick his nose in that bucket of grain and won't come out until he's done eating it, and then he'll push the mule out of the way, and he'll eat the rest of the mules. Why is that? Because the mule eats a little bit, goes over and stands and waits, eats a little bit because he knows he can founder himself on that grain. Now, I can also tell you, there has been mules foundered, grass founder as well as was ground founder. Yes, they have been. So let's go back. Each individual animal has its individual stall, and they get fed accordingly. You can keep track of the health of your horses and your mules and your donkeys by having them in a separate pen. Extremely important. That way you can look at their road apples and say healthy. You can look how much water they're drinking, healthy. How much salt they're eating, healthy. You cannot do that, folks. You cannot do it when you put them out in the pasture and they eat and everything. Now I want you to go to a smorgasbord for the next 2 months and eat nothing but smorgasbord and tell me how much weight you gain. Because I know I do, I always want to eat my money's worth plus some more. Yeah, wrong, okay? They don't need to be out on a pasture. You're not fattening them for butchering, okay? They don't need it, okay, folks? Put them in individual stall. Take care of your mules and horses.
Very good. Next question. This one's kind of a more general one, but I thought it was a good one to bring up. Joe was watching some of our videos on Facebook and said, why are mules so expensive? I've seen them at auction and they was going for thousands, up to 12 grand, yet you can get a horse for a few hundred. So why are mules more expensive, Steve?
Well, here's the deal, folks. I can tell you that pretty much all their lives, for centuries, mules have always brought a little bit more money because they were tougher, they were easier to put to work, and things like this. Well, now today, it's kind of an icon. Yep, I have a mule. Yes. And I am riding a mule. And they are super smart, sure-footed, don't eat much, easy to take care of, don't need shoes, which is all baloney. And here's what happened. Here about, 2001, when the horse market dropped out. And now all these horse traders are now saying, where can we find, how can we sell, how are we going to do this? And all of a sudden, the mule come on. And they started buying these mules. And they started putting these heavy prices on them. Now, I'm going to tell you what, folks. I was selling mules 25 years ago for $3,500. Back when you could buy a mule for $250 to $500. Yeah. Why was that? Because I had trained them. They were well trained. And I kept these mules for over a year. They knew what to do. Far better than the riders that I sold them to. Okay. So now people would say to me, well, why is your mule worth $3,500 when I can buy this one for $500? Well, climb on that mule and ride and see. See the handle he had. See how easy he was able to do everything. Would you work for a year for $3,500 and buy the mule and feed him and do the vet work and maintain him for $3,500 for a year? Yeah, you see? Think about that. Now let's fast forward. 25 years later. Now we got all these high-end people. Well, that mule's got all this chrome, and he's been in Colorado, and he's packed all this stuff, and he's done this, that, and the other. Well, that's why he's worth it, because I put a price on him of $12,000. Or people go to these auctions, and they get a little too much liquor in them. Yeah, I've seen it. And they just start throwing their hands up buying these things. I watched a guy, and I didn't watch him. I heard about it. He was in Redmond, California. He bought a mule that everybody said, wow, look at that mule. And he'd been drinking when he bought it. And he got up there and climbed on that mule. The mule bucked him off. He hit the pavement. He took him home. He put that mule out in the pasture. And as far as I know, he's still in that pasture. Let's go back. Fast forward. One of the reasons they put there's so much money is that people seem to have the money to spend it. I'm going to tell you that there's very few mules out there, very few mules, that's worth much more than $2,500. But people are seeing all these high figures on them and saying, man, that must be some kind of mule to have that kind of price. Remember, some of these traders just went to an auction someplace, picked the mule up for nickels and dimes, brought him back, cleaned him up kind of halfway, put a handle on him, and then turns around and sells him for the big bucks. And everybody sees this mule moving around in the round pen. Wait a minute, folks. Because he's moving around and doing things and trotting, you want to impress me about how well your trained mule is? I see him side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters. That's what I want to see. Back up on a loose rein, go to the right on a loose rein, to the left on a loose rein, 80% off your legs and 20% off your hands. Now, you want to show me that your mule is trained. You want to show me that he has a good foundation. Not broke, folks. Broke should be broken, should be thrown out a long time ago. Okay, that was the old vocabulary that we buckaroos used, and I don't do that anymore. If he has a foundation of pick up all 4 feet, a foundation of lead with a baling twine. Notice there, Dave, and that video that Dave O'Brien sent, that mule was not tied back heavy. Notice he's using baling twine. Baling twine. Now that right there, folks, that means that the halter is working and it's not someone pulling on that halter. It's baling twine and it's loose, okay? It's not pulling back real tight. If it's pulling back really tight, this mule would always be touching his chin. But it's loose enough, okay? And as the mule gets better and better and better, it'll get looser. But that's baling twine. That's it. Now, you'll get some of these guys who really try to show off, and they'll take the bridle off of the mule, and they'll just use the reins, and they'll make it look like he's doing things. But if you really watch him, he's making the animal do it. The animal's not really doing it, but most people can only see the big picture. They don't see the details, okay? So, folks, there's big prices on them, yes, okay? Can they die? Absolutely the next day. I had a really sad story, Dave. One of my clients up in British Columbia, and she just got this nice mule, and she's deaf, so she can't really talk to you, but she talks to her husband, and she talks typing and stuff. Anyway, while I was gone, up in Grand Canyon, the North Gate. While I was up there for 2 weeks, anyway, her mule colicked and died, and it's heartbreaking. Okay, she had all that time in that mule. She bought the mule for a very expensive price because it was a really nice mule. And anyway, folks, them animals can die the next day. They are not bulletproof. They're not. But you really want to buy one, you make sure you get a vet check done and you yourself handle that mule. Don't just buy one at auction. That's one of the saddest things going on right now is a lot of people are seeing these poor mules and these poor donkeys, and they're at this auction down in Texas. and they're getting ready to go to slaughter in Mexico. Oh my. And so they're going to save them. And some of these people end up in the hospital. Folks, it ain't worth it. Okay. No, get your vocabulary going. I've got how many videos we got, Dave? Like 600 of them out there that are free, that are there to help you, before you get yourself hurt, Now looking at this donkey that's lifting up his back legs, and Luke's mule that's lifting up the back legs, that's called stifle. And it's a pulled tendon. And it can happen overnight. And now you've taken all that money that you just spent, or all that time you just spent, and it happens. Okay. So, when you got a real muddy corral and this sort of thing, don't put your mule and donkeys out there. If they slip and slide and pull a tendon, they're done. Put them up. Okay. Don't try and train on them when it's icy and snowy. Don't let them out when they're out icy and snowy. They got a chance to slide, pull a tendon, and now they're stifled. And that's what I was trying to get with Dave there a minute ago. I was trying to catch him. He's usually pretty smart, but I think I caught him off guard right there. The word is stifle. Okay. The word is stifle. So it's up to you guys to take care of these animals. And you take and let them out, run and play in the mud and stuff. They got a chance to slide and get themselves hurt. So I said all this to say this. They are not bulletproof. They can get hurt and they can die just like you and I tomorrow. The thing with Dave and I is Dave and I got our tickets already paid. We know when we die, we're going to know where we're going to go, right?
Absolutely. Y'all, the rescuing of mules and donkeys, folks, I think it's good to, inside of your heart, have compassion for an animal. I think sometimes that compassion, being uninformed, leads to bigger problems. And so we put together an article on rescuing mules and donkeys from a kill pen. I sat down and I just chatted with Steve over everything that his thoughts are related to that. Both, number one, should you do it? And number two, what if you've already done it? And so I put a link in the comment section. Y'all can go check that out and just get a little bit more of an education there. So when the opportunity comes up, you know what's going to be the best fit for you and where you're at in life. Let's see here. Cowboy Ken says, excellent program from last week. That's right. If y'all didn't watch it, go back to our YouTube channel. Look for the program with David Scholl. Very special program from last week in August. It was great. Paulie says, that sure is a flashy little mules, talking about Dave's new foal. Debbie is watching from southeast Iowa, blue skies and 84 degrees. Susan is watching from Wisconsin, where it's 87 and humid. Tamar is watching from Elora, Queensland, which means we've gone international again. Thank you very much, Tamar. Appreciate that. Nice and sunny here. David and Di have been such great support. I bred my Clyde EX mare to his mammoth donkey. How awesome. That's Moses the Mule Maker right there. Yeah. David Pingelli, very warm here in Manchester, Georgia. Kimberly is watching from Maryland, 97 degrees. Diana, Northern California, 89 degrees. Marsha's here late today in Virginia. Our power went out. So hot. No rain, but my mules have never looked better. They are a desert animal for sure. Little interesting fact, at least this is what my dad told me. Arizona, I believe he said, is the only state in the union that has all of the different weather types. They've got desert, tropical, what are they? I'll find it. But Arizona's got it all. So you say it's a desert type, you all come out to Arizona. But then if you want tropical, you just go over here. If you want, winter, you just go up over there. Very fun. Michael says, hi from Aurora in hot and humid hauling hay. Hit YouTube. And there is, let's see, in hot and humid hauling, Utah. Hit YouTube, and there we usually watch the video first time live in a while. Good to have you here, Michael. David O'Brien says, thank you, sir. Let's see here. Bill says, DAC 5-way joint supplement is the best I've seen for locking, stifles, arthritis, and joint pain. We've had good results with it. Made in Dover, Ohio, and highly recommended.
Wow,
Hannah
be
is
interesting.
watching. Have you ever heard of that, Steve?
No, I never have. That's a tendon that's pulled, stretched. So it'd be really interesting to know how it does, and if I can maybe there's a lot of stuff for joints out, um, and this sort of thing, but for a stifle, I mean, those tendons are pulled. It's like a rubber band being pulled, tight. So if there's something out there, man, I want to hear about it. Luke, you need to check in on that, and then the guy with his donkey with the rear legs needs to check in on it, and then let us know. I mean, if it works, man, we need to let people know.
Yeah. Cassia says, this was from a Facebook comment, and Cassia says, good morning from Queensland, Australia. Sunshine at last. My 10-month-old has, well, here we go. Here's another one. Has stifle locking, and the gap in her knees is massive at the moment. Would you be giving her light exercise, good for the stifle, or rest while the extreme growth spurt is going on? So this is in a 10-month-old. This is one from
Wow.
from David Scholl.
Yeah, and here's the deal, folks. The joints that she's talking about in the knees, those don't usually start closing until it's about 2 years and 6 months to 2 years and 8 months. All right, and so walking them is good, exercise is good, getting the muscles and this sort of thing. But here's the thing: for a colt to be stifled, of course, they're running and playing and this sort of thing, and it can happen with any of them. And colts do run and play a lot, especially when they're with a bunch of other colts, which I never suggest anymore. But that locking stifle can sure be a problem. I would suggest keeping them in a small stall, 10 by 10 or so, maybe 20 by 20 at the max, and limit the amount of exercise. And then when you're leading them, limit how much that you do. Try not to make them pivot off that leg. In other words, if it's a right rear leg, we don't want to do many right turns. We want to do big turns when we're doing it, so that we give that mule a chance. But stifle, folks, I have yet to see any animal come out of stifle. It's usually very ugly. Ended up. So best to you. Let me know how that happens, and try that supplement that he's talking about.
Yeah, he said it was DAC 5-way joint supplement made in Dover, Ohio. This comment came in from Kale, and so I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about what you think regarding shoeing. But he says it was one of our YouTube videos. Hello, Steve. I acquired a very fat mule this week, and he came with one of your saddles and a fine leather breeching. I'm learning to set it up. Your commentary based on experience is useful and valid. I've shod professionally for around 12 years, and in spite of the negative contrarian comments of others, I see merit in several points you make about the way the mule was shod and what you observed and why you think what you do. Thank you for your video. So do you want to give just a real quick, I know that we've done entire hours on it, but you want to just share a little. I know that you like doing 4 nails instead of 6 nails. I know that there's shoeing for corrective shoeing. I know that there is the frog, and often the frog will get, just squeezed up to where there's no blood flowing up and down. You want to give us just a real quick crash course on what it is that you think about shoeing?
You bet. Okay. Shoeing, folks, is imperative for the trail rider. You're out there in them rocks and gravels and that tough ground. You need all the protection you can get. Now, I guarantee you that you guys that are out there in your 4-wheel drive vehicles don't have street tires out on the side of a mountain. I know you got those big mud lugs and this sort of thing because you want it to bite. You want to be able to go up those roads, Same thing with your mules. Folks, shoeing your mules, well, you cannot believe how better they travel, how more consistent they travel, okay? And not only that, but how much more healthier they're going to be. Because again, we look at the hoof wall, okay? This is the outside wall. This is the lamina. And then this is the coffin bone. Here's what happens. When that gravel from the roads gets in this lamina. That's the white line. And it goes up in there. It can go up and actually cripple and separate the lamina. And then all the germs and the trash gets kind of packed up in there. And you can get separation of the lamina. And then that rock will come out. That pebble will come out at different places on the foot. Here's the downside with that, folks. Here's the downside. Is that now you've got a chance for that animal to start getting laminitis, start getting screwed up with its separation of the lamina because of that gravel. Now, that's one part. Next part is this. When you have a mule's foot, it is the second worst foot in the world you can get. Oh, really? What's the first one? The donkey. Donkeys are horrible. They have horrible feet on them. And especially when people let them go too long. You want a foot to be short, hoof to be short, so that the frog will be touching on the ground. Okay? Now, a foot comes down, it expands, it comes up, contracts, comes down. I'm overemphasizing, but that's what it does. And then what happens is that frog is open and closing, and every time it hits the ground here, then it pumps blood up and down the leg. And when the back of the foot starts getting contracted, it starts coming in, and the frog is there, and that foot starts coming in and pushing against that frog and making that frog smaller. Now we have a contracted heel that is crippling your mule. Don't listen to anybody that says you don't have to shoe your mule. I'm going to guarantee you 95% of the mules that are out there right now, if they were trimmed correctly when they were a baby, would not be crooked-legged as they see them today. Yes, a lot of it has to do with donkeys. Yes, it does. Okay, but if you want to maintain your mule to the very best, if you don't have a hoof, you don't have a mule. If you don't have a hoof, you don't have a donkey. And if you've got low standards, if you don't have a hoof, you don't have a horse. All right, now get that in your mind. So contracted heels is what happens. And I'm going to tell you easily, 80% of the mules that are out there have contracted heels. Look at the heels. When you pick up that foot and you flip it upside down, that heel should be as wide in the back as it is in the front, is a good rule of thumb. Now, it could be a little bit less. That's okay. Okay, that's fine. But that wall should all come around nice and smooth. We have pretty much bred out the bad foot from the old donkey, which used to be kind of an S shape at the back. You'd see it come around from the toe, and then come around to the quarters, and then at the very back of the foot, come out, curl out. That was the way a lot of the hooves used to be on our mules. But now we're not breeding to that type of donkey anymore. We're breeding to a better foot. We still have contracted heels. If you got a little bitty frog on your mule's foot and it's dry and looking really bad instead of being big and fluff and heavy and fluffy, you've got a problem. You've got contracted heels because the heel is coming in and making that frog small. That frog pumps blood up and down that leg. And this guy's a 12-year veteran shoeing as a farrier. I can tell you, Dave, I've had a lot of farriers contact me and ask me about fixing contracted heels. And you need to do that. It's easy to do, folks. It's not hard to do at all. Okay? And it's really easy. You take the branches of the shoes, these are the branches, and you tilt them. Okay? And you tilt them. And what that does, every time that hoof comes down, it goes out, and you get the spreading of the heel. It takes over a year at times, and sometimes you even have to cut the quarters out inside because those are what keeps the foot from moving out. Sometimes you have to cut those out. Now, I only use 4 nails in my shoes ever. I only want the front 4 nails to be in the front. In the back, I want it to expand and contract, expand and contract, expand and contract. Every time that hoof comes down, I want from the I want the from the second nail back to be expanding. I want it to go over the shoe. When you see a shoe, you should be able to take a dime at the least, a quarter at the average, and go all around the outside edge of that hoof. You should see that shoe. If you look and you don't see the shininess of that shoe all the way around, that shoe is too tight. We want that shoe to go over with the hoof, to go over the shoe. That's what we want. We want it to expand so that we can build that foot so that it is a healthy foot. It's very, very important. So yes, congratulations on buying that Fat Mule. Keep it off of a pasture. Much where the biggest problem that people have is, second worst problem that mules have is the overfeeding. Okay, so the first problem we have is people that are not educated. That's the first problem. Second problem we have, overfeeding. Third problem we have is people not trimming and balancing and shoeing their feet. Fourth problem we've got is people that think they've got a trained mule when they just got disposition. Okay, and fifth problem is the mule is doing just fine until somebody opens the gate.
Diana is watching. Cheryl is watching. Hi from Central Ohio. And I recently rescued a mule from a kill auction. So, Cheryl, go ahead, watch our program. We know that folks are out there who are rescuing these animals, and we wish you all the best. We also hope that you'll be able to make a decision on training. There are many of these animals where sometimes the best thing for them, so they don't injure themselves and cause themselves great pain, or worse, injure you and put you in the hospital, is to put them down. And that's a decision that you'll have to make, but we want to equip you to make the decision on whether or not, hey, I really want to invest in this animal and I know what I'm in for, or hey, maybe this wasn't the right decision. So go check out that article I put in the comment section. Bill says he's going to get you some more information on that DAC5, Steve. Twin Mules is watching from North Carolina. Bill says backing on a slight uphill grade will help with locking stifle also. Start slowly and work up. Have you heard that, Steve?
That's an old remedy. I have tried it in the past. It has not worked for me. But I have had a couple of my old cowboy buddies in the past that said that they've tried it. The big problem is, yes, it worked for a short time, but as soon as people would start saddling up and ride, it would go back again. You start putting some weight on that back spine and you got a problem.
Yeah.
I would say try anything, folks. A lot of nice mules are going and getting wasted.
Yeah. Linda is watching from stinking hot rural Central Ohio. Phew. She says, Linda, it's good to see you here. Is it a trending up day, or is it a trending down day? Just let us know how we can support you and encourage you. We're so glad you're here. Let's see here. Jerry says, is it the same for horses? The frog pumps blood. Can a horse get a contracted foot?
Yes, you can get a contracted foot. It's not as usual everyday thing like mules do, but look at the hoof, and you can see that if that frog is tiny and not big and fat and fluffy, then look at this. Look at the hoof. The front on horses and mules should be rounded in the front and almost kind of pointy in the back. Okay, pointy. I can't quite get it. So the back foot would be kind of pointy. The front foot will be rounded out. But yes, if you see a frog that's not good and healthy, ask your farrier about it. Is that heel contracted? And you can tell one side or the other. You can see it.
All right, then. Let's see here. I think that's everything. Right at 4 o'clock on the button.
Look at us.
Let's see here. Linda says, we've got more hot days coming out here till the end of the work week. It's 94 Fahrenheit, which is too hot for me. I would appreciate some prayers for my healing. You got it, Linda. We'll be praying for you. Thank you for sharing that. Jerry says, thanks, Steve. Folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We are so grateful that you spent a little bit of time of your Tuesday with us. We hope that it was profitable, that you enjoyed our time together. Hopefully you learned something. And if you didn't learn something, hopefully you got to smile and just enjoy life. We love being together. We love seeing you all. And we love talking mules and donkeys. And we'll be here next Tuesday to do the exact same thing. Steve, is there anything you want to say before we're all done today?
No, I want to tell folks that, my Facebook, my personal Facebook has been hijacked. And if any of you had your names on there and somebody says they're contacting you, it is not me. My Facebook was hijacked. Matter of fact, it was taken completely off. It's gone. Facebook is completely useless when it comes down to contacting them. They can't help you. Once your Facebook has been hijacked, you are done. Even though I had double IDs, they had to first call me, and I also had to put my password in. They still got in there. Now, they even hijacked my Queen Valley Mule Ranch Facebook, but Dave was able to get in there and get that squared away. But if any of you being contacted by me by Facebook, it is not me. And I'm sorry I didn't get back to you sooner. Dave can tell you we have gone through hell on earth to try to figure out, and Facebook will not give you answers. They will not help you. They are plumb useless when it comes down to trying to help you. Once you've been hijacked, good luck on that. Okay, I had one lady tell me it cost her almost $500 to go to he called himself a cell phone doctor, and went in and deleted his her Facebook thing. And of course, I didn't know how to do it. Dave, he's Mr. Guru when it comes down to stuff. He makes it, and so it's a mess. So right now, I've got one hope, and it's in Gio's his name. He's actually in India right now, but he's anyway. He's going to try to help me out with the deal. But anyway, if you've been contacted by me on Facebook, my personal Facebook, it is not me. If it's Dave, it'll be the Queen Valley Mule Ranch Incorporated. Did I get that right, Dave?
Yeah. So we've got the Queen Valley Mule Ranch Incorporated Facebook page. They got in there. They got access to that. They got access to a whole lot of stuff. And just the way Facebook works, I was able to get them out of the business thing. But I spent hours trying to fit. And Steve's right. Like, this is the sort of stuff that I'm really, really good at. And I could not figure out how to regain access. They make it so once the hackers get in there and get access, it's made to protect them. So they don't get you in touch with anybody live unless it's on a business account, because of course the business accounts spend the money. So that's why they were able to help us with the other one. So if you get anything from Steve personally, anything that says Steve Edwards in the title or whatnot, it's not going to be Steve at this point. If you get anything from Queen Valley Mule Ranch Inc., that will be us. So it's no fun, and wish that they would provide more tools, but we're grateful that we get to show up each week and on this page, and we get to spend a little bit of time with you. And there was one more thing I was going to say.
So anyway, if any of you have been contacted by, quote, Steve Edwards in Queen Valley, let me know. Email me, let Dave know, so that we know what's going on.
That actually would be helpful. Come to think of it, if because they changed a bunch of stuff on the account. So, all right, folks, thank you for spending some time with us. God bless. We will see you soon. MuleRanch.com. If you don't have the Ground Foundation starting kit, go to MuleRanch.com. Get a hold of that. That's going to be your best tool for getting started. No matter if you are a newbie or if you're an old bee, no matter if you are on your first week of training or if you are on your 10th year of training, the Ground Foundation starting kit. We did not talk about that very much this week, but got to mention it because I know there are new folks watching all the time. Take care, God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.